Gentlemen, great presentations. The first question that I have, though, is way back in the way back machine, a lot of airlines and hotels have tried to sell tours before. They were concerned because they added friction, they didn't get to the book button. There were all sorts of objections, and we're talking about large airlines, Delta and a number of others, and it never went anywhere. Is the difference now because there are other areas to sell it, on apps, you mentioned in hotel rooms, on Wi-Fi screens? In other words, a whole variety of different areas where you can, through partnerships, upsell and cross-sell. And is it better to do it in these venues as opposed to on the website or when you're going through the booking path itself?
Right. If we go through the hotels, so there are basically two schools in this. If you would take the hotels, for example, in Iceland, they look at selling tours and activities as a revenue center or revenue stream, and the fastest growing revenue stream. So basically, we interviewed some of the hotel general managers, and we were asking them, why are you doing this? So the first answer they gave us was, we want to increase customer loyalty, which I found very interesting. So the first reason was not, I want to make money out of this. So basically, they want to keep the customer loyal to their website, to get more direct bookings, etc. The second of all, they said, the products that we're selling needs to be aligned with our brand. So a hostel will not sell the same products as a five-star hotel. So there you have a pretty mature market. I have spoken to general managers in a few cities in the last few months. I can name Florence, Dubai, Helsinki, Las Vegas, and some other cities. And whenever I ask the general managers, how much are you making out of tours and activities? I will always have the same answer, always. I have no idea, always. And which is very interesting. Yeah. And this, the reason for this is, there is a different culture. You will get, leave the money making to the concierge, or that's a part of their salary, and it's an unofficial secret, things like this. So, and when we go to them and say, oh, why don't you, check out how much you're making, because this is a huge, what we have data on this, and we see that, the storefronts or the websites, they're selling on average 10,800 euros for a, 50-room hotel. It's money. And at the front desk, they will be selling somewhere between 30 to 80,000 euros a month. It's money, and you get commissions from that. And you can easily pay the salary of the concierge and take a little bit yourself. The other problem that hangs around this is that the concierge will sometimes want to get black money. The biggest suppliers typically do not want to pay black money. Now there we have a problem. The concierge will then choose the product for the hotel, and the hotel will just say, okay, this is a concierge's business. They will choose the products not based on what is best for the customer, but which supplier will pay the highest amount to the concierge. And I think this is gradually changing, hopefully. And I think it's very easy to change that because now all the products are online, and it's so easy to become a reseller or an affiliate of tours and activities. And I'm sorry, I didn't want to hijack the conversation.
No, I think that's great, but I do have a question of you, so we'll have equal time. So, for a long time, it was herding cats. Just the systems were different. It was hard to go. Doing online bookings, it was a nightmare. No one wanted to tackle it. Viator was, of course, the first, or I should say the largest, not the first. And then, of course, with TripAdvisor's acquisition of Viator, all of a sudden it's like, hey, have you heard about tours? This is really hot. This is cool, especially with mobile. So do you think that this is, in fact, prime time for tours? And if so, what's made the difference? And since it is prime time, is it going to be a really crowded marketplace, or can there only be space for one?
Yeah, it's actually, I'll touch on the previous question too and come to this. The big difference between before versus now is the number of channels you have on how to sell, right? Because people carry their mobile devices. You have people who you know where they are going. So previously, the way they were selling was in the booking flow, like you mentioned. Like if I booked my flight to Finland, I'm not yet sure of what I'm doing in Helsinki. But just like 2 days before the destination, if I can get a note from Finnair saying, hey, you're going to be in Finland, this is the temperature, the cool festival that's happening here, do you want to book this concert ticket? So it's all about timing. The thing is what was missing before, and right now the number of channels you have, like an in-app notification in a mobile app wasn't there like 5-6 years back. So how do you personalize that information and distribute is very, very key. And I've seen hotels in Asia where they've gone too far ahead, where the minute you come into the hotel, the first thing that comes is welcomes you and then says, what are the cool, it comes on the television screen, all the devices. Hong Kong has these handy devices, and have you heard? So the distribution channels and the technology that the customer is equipped with today, when they are at the destination, is a lot more than before. So yeah, if we can enable them to book that without even going to the concierge, that's where you're going to make a difference. Yeah.
So I'll go to Slido in a minute, but I asked in one of the previous sessions, our friends at Skyscanner, Mark, if a small little company like Google Flights had some impact or issue on him. I know it was kind of like, they're focused on a lot of other things. Flights is just one of them. But I'll ask the same question of you gentlemen. Small little company, teeny tiny, little startup, Airbnb, have now focused on tours and activities. Oh my gosh. So now that's all that, and that's key and core to what they do and their experience. Where do your companies and others like you fit in? Or, oh my God, that's really competitive and that keeps me up at night?
First of all, I love that they're coming into the space. I think that will give us a better variety of things to do because they're focused on something different. But if you look at the distribution, I mean, how much is... They're not going to reach the volume of Viator, I think, personally, or at least not in foreseeable future. And Viator, how much is that as a total percentage of total distribution? 3%, 4%? So I love that they're in the space. Of course, it will have an impact, and they're doing great things, but it will not have... I think it will only grow the pie, to be honest.
Yeah, and my take is they're slightly... parallel to what we are talking about here, because the trips is pretty cool, but what they do is more about the experiences than tours. If I'm going to Seattle, maybe I'm going to stay at this person's house and I can get a cooking class of farm to fresh cooking or something. So the niche is slightly, they're not trying to capture the broad market. They're trying to focus on, yeah, they might expand later, but I think they are slightly playing on the parallel space than coming into the tours and activities.
That segues great into the Slido question from my good friend Anonymous, who asks, is selling your product on 200 websites better if it's all the same on 195? So you talk about the authenticity and being really, really separate of an Airbnb, and here you've got, wait, didn't I see that picture on the last 17 websites that I took a look at? Is that a problem?
Yeah, so it's... I get the question, but first to answer it, is it better to have your products promoted on 200 websites rather than 0? Yes. Better than 1? Yes. Better than 2? Yes. Where's the line? But also, the suppliers are increasingly not allowing the resellers to use the same content as their own because of search engine optimization purposes. And this, technology solves this as well. And for example, in Bokun, this was solved a few years back, where the resellers will box the product, or we call them boxing, where you simply rewrite the content a little bit about the product and use other pictures. So our suppliers will have image galleries with maybe 100 images for one product. So I don't see this as a huge problem.
In fact, I see that as a bonus, because I want to make a bold statement. There is no, when it comes to an OTA or a platform, there is no global company, period. Because if you come into India, there are a set of OTAs. If you go into South America, different. If you go to Africa, it's Jovia and Jumia. So if I'm a supplier selling my stuff, if it's a tour in Iceland, I want in every local popular OTA, right? Because Get Your Guide is heavily used by Europeans, Viator very much by Americans, but practically not as popular in some parts of Asia. So if I'm a supplier selling a tour in Iceland, I want to be in Viator, I want to be in Get Your Guide, I want to be practically in every OTA that's there. And the content normalization is good in that way because you're not showing different things in different places. Today, that exactly is the problem, by the way. The same hotel looks very different in hotels.com, booking.com, Agoda, and Expedia. I mean, there are enough examples, which adds to confusion.
So there was a question about how do you get mom and pops if it's really authentic. Can you scale the mom and pops to do that? And there are many companies, a leading one, for example, is Peak, that offers booking solutions so that it kind of normalizes everyone from the large ones to the mom and pops. Do you work with companies like a Peak, or how do you go out and convince a mom and pop to do it, and how do you scale that, aside from some big attractions?
Well, we have, on our system, we have probably a greater majority of our vendors or our clients or customers are mom and pop stores, or suppliers, as we call them. Of course, because we have thousands of them, and they would they will use Bokun as their day-to-day management system, and then, of course, use the distribution aspects of the system as well to get distribution. So I'm not really sure I get the question, because the system is really for them to run their day-to-day operation. So it's
they don't need a platform. They don't need a platform. They can just collect information or integrate with you, and then you integrate with third parties. So you don't really need that type of solution, is what you're saying, if you're working with Bokun.
Yeah.
Basically, build the channel management for these guys. That's the solution.
Okay. So, excuse me. So what do you think is the greatest opportunity? Is it in fact distributing through the larger suppliers, airlines, hotels, others? Is it getting just all the referral and the combos, as you put it, to earn additional income and to put these kind of mashups together? Is it to branch out into all of these different markets outside of Iceland and Ireland and just keep working with it? Where's your greatest opportunities?
As in for us as a company, or yeah, we're actually going global now. One of our customers, GTA, which is one of the largest wholesalers, B2B wholesalers globally, is starting to use Bokun as their day-to-day booking system. So all of the suppliers in 140 countries will be having their supply on the Bokun marketplace. Now that means that you can sell them, and you can sell them, and anybody can sell them if they allow you to. So I think we will see a quite interesting shift in distribution of tourism activities in a fairly short time.
And for all of these marketplaces also, the question, and we get it from Slido as well, of kind of monitoring quality and authenticity. Yes, you're a marketplace. Yes, you're not responsible for the experience, but you're providing it. You're facilitating it. How do you ensure the quality? Or is that not even your responsibility?
The company that is selling the tour is responsible for the quality, or if the supplier is selling it, the supplier is responsible. If the airline is selling your product, the airline will probably do a small due diligence and check if you're a real player or not. You know, so that it's impossible for one company to come and say, okay, you should be, you know, the best platform in Ireland, or the best supplier in Ireland, or you. You know, the sellers need to find out themselves.
Actually, that's a good question. I've taken a tour personally in each of those 200 plus countries we've been to. The problem is, until you get there, you do not know the quality of the driver of the thing, or the guide, what language they speak. It's a big problem. There has never been a social validation kind of review thing. But yeah, we do that, and the other companies which are there in the space also do it, which is very important for you to pick a tour, if I'm going to Iceland, the other customers saying it's like a 5-star service is very, very important for people to, I mean, and we remove people who have very low reviews. So that's how we keep quality control. One is complaints and what other users have to say.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about other marketplaces like Etsy or eBay, where they do have reviews, and they know that. But then again, the branding of it is on those sites. It's Etsy, and there are reviews and peer reviews. If I'm a hotel or an airline, and now I'm putting my brand with that, I have to make sure that, because they don't know that that's through some third-party marketplace. I mean, I don't know if that's an issue for you or just, this is just the way of the world and bringing it out, and you need to do some vetting or some due diligence, not to pour any cold water, but just, again, it's associating another brand with that experience.
And it can be difficult, but I can give you a real-time example. So we're starting to work with Finnair in Finland. So basically, we're digitalizing the whole Finnish tourism industry, or the tourism activities industry, to increase the number of tourists coming to Finland. Now, in Finland, it's very easy for Finnair to check out if the suppliers are good enough or not. So they will be selling tourism activities in all of the regions all over Finland. It's fairly simple in your own small country, even though Finland is maybe not a small country. Now, if Finnair was selling tourism activities in Dubai, how do they know that, how do they make the due diligence? In reality, it's not that complicated. You will have the Burj Khalifa, you will have the Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, you will have the helicopter tours there, and it's very easy to create the due diligence on those, and those will be the ones who will start off in the system. But then we will have new ones, we will have small ones, and they will need to promote themselves to be resold by the big resellers.
And two last questions, one mine, one Slido. So the Slido question is, if you're selling your product on 100 websites or more, do you provide the data to show supplier insight where the product converts and customer data to give insight about what's the target audience?
What do you mean target audience?
I'm reading for Slido. Who's anonymous there? So I guess they just want to know, who is that audience? Are they millennials? Do you get any intelligence about who that audience is that's buying it? My guess.
Yeah, the supplier gets all information from which booking channel the product is being sold through. And the other question, I didn't really. Yeah.
In other words, we heard today that you can tell from GPS where they came from. Are they close to it? Is it within a 10-mile radius? Are they a millennial? In other words, anything about the target audience at all that would give them insights about that audience so they can either tailor the product or replicate what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, most tourism activities suppliers will get data. Whenever you make a booking, you will need to say the nationality, things like that. So you gather all of that. So we have a complete data set, and you can drill into how many Chinese are buying that product in this month, and at which hour, etc. Yeah, sure.
Because we don't have 100 websites, but we do give the insight on how many views and how many bookings and demographics too. So we clearly tell them and what place you ranked on the search results. So they do know that, yeah, they kept showing up at number 3, but still they didn't get booked. There's something off. So we do try to give them that insight, yeah.
And my last question is more of a macro question. So to me, this is clearly ancillary, obviously, for partners. For years and years and years, airlines sold seats, and we're done. Now, all of a sudden, airlines a few years ago woke up and said, hey, we can charge for seats, we can charge for baggage, we can charge for just about anything, and we can also bolt things on. We'll charge for Wi-Fi, we'll charge for just about anything we can. And they're very bullish on ancillary because that makes the profits. Is this the time that comes for tours as well? Or, little harder, it's easier to sell seats and baggage and also all those other things, So it may take some time to get this in the ancillary bucket, that very, very rich ancillary bucket for airlines, and maybe it's a little easier for hotels. So strategically, where would companies such as yours be focused?
The fact of the matter is that tours and activities are being sold in destination. So when you make your booking for the flight, you will make it before going into destination, obviously. So that will, in my opinion, not be the primary growth for ancillary revenue for hotels. But the hotels do have all the customer data, so they will be promoting the tours and activities before and when the people land and arrive in destination, and maybe a couple of days after, both through email marketing, through their app, etc. But what we have seen is that hotels are in a primary position to sell tours and activities, and they're not monetizing it from what we see. So I believe that will be the big change. I think they will open their eyes and start to monetize that.
Totally agree, but I'll just say one thing. The only way to watch movies, even in first class on United, is to download the app. And that's how you're going to watch it there. I don't know, if I'm landing and I've already got the app on and that's the only way I can watch free movies and watch all my things, might be a good message when I'm landing. You're right, not when I'm booking, but certainly when I'm landing. Just a thought.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. That's exactly what Virgin Atlantic does, and a couple of other people are starting to do it. The in-flight screen is going to die. It's dying in the next 10 years. Nobody's going to have it. It's very expensive. And they are making you download the app in the tablet. So you watch a movie. Yesterday I was shopping for something, and I forgot which one, not Delta, the other one. So, and yeah, just another tab in it saying, now you're going, and I know, and add that extra discount, it cannot be any more targeted than that, because I know you're going to Sydney. I have you on the Sydney flight. Book this now. So yeah, definitely. I mean, but I would agree 100% with what Halti said too. Hotels is the sweet spot.
Well, I want to thank both of you, and I want to thank the audience, and thank all my anonymous friends who send us things at Slido. Very interesting conversation. I would say watch this space. It may be small today, but I think it's growing, and you can line up if you want to talk to these gentlemen about adding revenues to what you do if you're hospitality or an airline or some other supplier. But I want to thank both of you very much, and great information. And I think we're ready for a break now, right? Yes.